It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show.
Welcome to the Dep Lewis Show, episode 163. This is your host, Dep Lewis, and today is Sunday, January 18th, 2026. A great day for a podcast about video games and more. And I hope you're doing great out there in the world, wherever and whenever you're listening to this. Thank you so much for being here. I do apologize for missing last week's episode. I probably should have planned a little bit better, but I had some friends come to town for the Carolina Panthers football game, so just decided to pass on the podcast for the week just to keep having some fun and take a little bit of a break. So I'll definitely keep you up to. I definitely gotta tell you what my thoughts on that football game in the final section of the show, but we have plenty of video game stuff to catch up with first, and that's the main plan. So the first order of business is to ask you to follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show available anywhere you can find a podcast. Find the best place to subscribe and listen weekly. Places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Amazon Music, and more. YouTube is also a great place to watch me play some games live or check out the videos later. If you would like to support the show even further than just listening, patreon.com/Dep Lewis Show is available if you'd like to subscribe monthly. Also, Venmo at Dep Lewis Show is available any day, anytime, for any amount if you would like to support the show. And today's show will have three sections as always. The first section, I'll tell you about what video games I've been playing since I've last talked to you on this microphone. The mid section of the show, which is just the middle of the show. It's not mid in quality. That's where I tell you about everything going on around the video game world that you need to know. And the third and final section, the Miscellaneous Talk section, that's where I can talk about anything I want to outside the video game world. And I certainly want to get into the worldwide world of sports and tell you my thoughts on the spoiler alert end of the Carolina Panthers season, but I'm sure you already knew that out there in the world. But I went to that game. It was extremely fun, and definitely want to catch you up on some sports thoughts in general there in the Miscellaneous Talk section. But the first things first, and that's the video game talk. So what have I been playing since I've last talked to you? 2 weekends ago. It's been, I missed one weekend, so I've had 2 weeks of stuff to catch you up with. And I've been playing, I didn't really play a lot of games in the week that I missed. But the main thing I did play, or I intended to play, and just wanted to tell you what was going on, was the Splatfest that happened last weekend in Splatoon 3. Or it was called a Frosty Fest, I guess because of the season. But this took place last weekend, January 10th through the 12th. And I was rocking Team Solo. The question for this Splatfest was, who do you spend the holidays with, friends, family, or solo? The truth there probably is a combination of friends or family most of the time, but I'm definitely kind of a solo person a lot of times here. This is a solo podcast, so I thought that would be, a fun one to pick. And, like I mentioned, this was the Carolina Panthers playoff weekend. And I didn't really end up playing too much Splatoon 3. Friends of the show, Stu Boot and Merc, actually played some rounds, so they definitely contribute a little bit to Team Solo. And I got a couple matches in, but I didn't get to play as much as I intended to. And what do you know? Guess who won the Splatfest? Team Solo came out as the winner. So I've been on a big losing streak for these, and I've been playing in them. And the Splatfest that I play the least in, my team wins. So maybe there's some correlation there. Maybe I need to do some soul searching there. Maybe I need to check myself. Maybe I need to practice a little bit more in between these Splatfest. But either way, these are some of the best times to play Splatoon 3. Splatoon 3 runs wonderful on the Switch 1. It's running even better on the Switch 2. And I'm definitely always, ever since this game, this is a Dep Lewis Show Game of the Year winner. And I've really been on this game ever since. I take these Splatfests as times to check back in and play. And I even think that, hey, I should play even more in between those times to kind of keep my skills a little bit up. But I really do love playing Splatoon 3, and it's an incredible video game. And I wanted to make sure you knew who won the Splatfest last weekend, and that was Team Solo. So I guess I can at least say I'm back on the winning side of things in a slight way, even though I don't feel like I contributed too much. All right, so what else have I been playing? The weekend where Stoop Woot was in town, we played a good bit of Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. He actually played some for me, and he got me 2 heart containers. So I had a bunch of shrines on my map that I had found, and maybe had decided they were a little bit too tough. Maybe I just decided I didn't want to go in them at all in general. And he decided, I think most people love doing the shrines in this game. That's their favorite part. And I think I kind of like the exploratory stuff and open world stuff a little bit more. But Stoop Woot helped me get some heart containers, so I got 2 new heart containers in Tears of the Kingdom. I ended up finding the climbing armor, which is really cool. I found Stupu got me some type of other armor, but I ended up finding the climbing armor after, and I'm really, I think that's going to be one of the strongest armors in the game. I need to go find the headband, and I think there's another piece to it as well. So I'm back into I guess I always have a little bit of a. Recently, I've been having Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom on the mind, and I've been playing more Breath of the Wild, but I've been skewing, I guess, more Tears of the Kingdom in the last couple weeks, and I've been having a whole lot of fun with that. I'm trying to think what else I've been doing. I've really just been trying to collect things and go around the open world, and I've been entering more caves than I have before, so I guess, trying to collect some of these armor pieces, and I defeated some Hinox I've never done before, so getting a little bit tougher out here in Tears of the Kingdom. I think my next main objective here is I need to try to go get the Master Sword, which I think I'm able to do so. You have to go, I guess, have a fight with the Light Dragon, and you also have to have, the first thing you definitely have to have is 2 full stamina wheels, which I definitely do, and then you have to go do a mission with the Light Dragon, I believe is the case there on Tears of the Kingdom. But just a really, really fun game, and something that, I need to make more progress in as time goes along for sure. I really, really love this game, and I beat Breath of the Wild last year, so maybe this will be the year for Tears of the Kingdom. You never know. All right, what else have I been playing? I've been playing some more Ghost of Yotei. So the game of the year for the Dep Lewis Show for 2025, a wonderful video game. And this game, it keeps on impressing me, everything I do in this game. Atsu is becoming one of my favorite characters of all time. It's getting up there. I don't know if it's getting up there in the... It's almost like blasphemous for me to say up there in the Last of Us territory of how much I'm liking this and the characters, but I just think the writing in this game is so good. I don't think the story is overhanded in any way, and I've been trying to think of like what makes this game. It's just so charming. There's a real great realism to it, and I really just do think it is the writing. And like I'm saying, it's not some great story. There's not tons of dialogue, but all the characters, they just have real personalities, I feel like. And I think Hoochie, I hope that's how you say the character, has just been a really good side character. This is an older lady in this game. I think there's a lot of parallels between her and Atsu, which is cool. And she's kind of trying to pass along some of this knowledge to Atsu without like overhandedly like giving her this knowledge. And sometimes she even does. And then Hoochie has this relationship with her son who's older, and he's being, treating her like she's older, and just that kind of dynamic. And I think Atsu is getting some good kind of life advice through these characters and thinking about her own self. And that's some of the coolest things I think about in this game, besides just the basic, the combat, the traveling around, the sword play, all the visuals, the horseback riding, just everything you're doing in the world. I think it has some really cool, just kind of real life stuff here going on with the themes of the story. And I think Atsu is just a really, really excellent character in every way. I think they do a good job of giving her a personality, but then she has some moments of levity, and you can kind of see that even she's someone, the great Onryo, the great almighty powerful Onryo, doesn't have all the answers, and she's trying to figure them out as well. And I think she's realizing, hey, maybe I'm, I think she's questioning some of her tactics, and everyone in the world's questioning her tactics, but she doesn't really have another choice, it seems. So just Ghost of Yotei continues to be a wonderful video game. I really do. I just kind of keep doing anything this game has going on. I would like to try to get into the New Game Plus at some point down the road and maybe play it on a harder difficulty. So those are some of my Ghost of Yotei thoughts, but I've been just having a whole lot of fun with this video game. There's been another game I've been playing this past week, and especially over the weekend, that I'm going to talk about a little bit in the midsection. It's more kind of a news thing and something that I'll just talk about in further weeks if I keep on playing. But I was actually playing a good bit this morning, and definitely want to talk about some of that in the midsection. But what else is going on as far as video game wise for me? So those have kind of been the main things I've been playing in the past 2 weeks since I haven't talked to you. This is the year of the front log on the Dep Lewis Show, so that is the theme for the year. I'm going to focus on new releases this year. I'm not making any list of backlog games to complete. I did a lot of that last year and didn't really result in me completing a lot of games, so I'm trying something new here. And I think the year of the front log is going to start off with something I want to talk about at a showcase last week, which is Resident Evil 9, which is coming early in February. So that's going to lead off the midsection. So we'll get into that. We might as well wrap up this first section of the show, but just wanted to remind you, as I'll probably do weekly, that this is the year of the front log. So I'm looking for those new releases. I'm not really worrying if there's something new, if there's a prior release I haven't completed. I think I'm just going to try to stress-free play the new one. are going to be games, and there's not really a ton on the list. I think the main ones would be Resident Evil, Grand Theft Auto, Forza Horizon 6, and maybe there's a few others in there, but that list will get built. The front log will build itself as the year goes, and I will definitely keep you updated. So that's going to wrap up the first section. That's everything I've been playing since I've last talked to you. Splatoon 3, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Ghost of Yotei, and it's the year of the front log of the Dep Lewis Show. So thank you for listening to this first section. Let's take a quick break, listen to some music, and come back for the midsection where I tell you about everything going on around the video game world that you need to know. Welcome back to the midsection of Dep Lewis Show, episode 163. This is where I tell you about everything going on around the video game world that you need to know. And this is a little bit of a 2-week catch-up, but I just picked kind of the most important things to me, and hopefully that you will find them important and interesting as well. So in the past week, this is a game I just mentioned in the first section. Resident Evil 9 Requiem had a full showcase, a gameplay showcase. It was around 13 minutes in length. You can go watch it on YouTube right now. This took place on January 16th, so just a couple days ago. This features Leon gameplay, story details, costumes, and more. So Resident Evil 9 Requiem is going to be the 9th and most immersive, according to them, mainline entry yet in the iconic survival horror series. Launches February 27, 2026 for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and Nintendo Switch 2, which I find that very interesting, and PC via Steam, as well as the Epic Games Store. The back-of-the-box talk is take the series back to the iconic Raccoon City, home of the biological disaster that shook the world, combining deeply terrifying aspects of psychological horror with pulse-pounding action that franchise fans know and love. The story features new protagonist Grace Ashcroft, along with the return of fan-favorite Leon S. Kennedy. And GiantBomb.com did a good talkover of this. I watched them watch this showcase, and I think the combat looks really fun. They have the two different characters in here. It looks like if you're using Grace, you're going to probably focus on a first-person perspective, but you can switch between first and third with both characters, which I think is very nice. But it looks like they're kind of showing this game off through Grace's first perspective, and they're saying those sections are going to be more of the psychological horror. And then the Leon Kennedy side of things, you most likely want to play in a third-person perspective, and it's going to be more combat-focused. So I think there's going to be a mix of things. But I do think that's a pretty cool delineation there between the two characters. And I don't know if they're calling it like two games within a game, but offering different play styles all in the service of one story here in Resident Evil 9 Requiem. So it definitely seems very cool. I'm very interested in this. I'm sort of scared when it comes to these survival horror games. I've tried them out in the past. I think The Last of Us is the closest I've ever been to like really enjoying a game with survival horror elements. I have played a good portion of Resident Evil 4. I guess I've completed Resident Evil 5, so that's been another series where I've been kind of close. It's just been a series that I've been kind of close on, but some of the modern ones, things look so, just the graphics on them are so insane, and crazy visuals and these crazy enemies and just wild stuff that I don't know if I'm prepared for, but there's definitely something here I like, and this is one I'm interested in. I'm interested in playing this on the Switch too, possibly. I've been hearing how that's such a good port of, it's going to be such a good port of this game. Or you've been hearing rumblings on that. You've been hearing people say that. You've been, a little few hands-on things out there. People are saying it looks good, and that's just kind of the overall vibe that it's actually going to be a good port on the Nintendo Switch too. And I think that could be a good way to possibly play it, because I'm saying, hey, it'll be a little bit less visually horrifying or whatever, and playing in handheld seems a little bit less scary for some reason too, so maybe I'll just be able to tackle it a little bit better, has been some of my thoughts here. But I think this might be my first kind of new purchase for the year, and that one's coming out on February 27th, so only really about a month away in real time. And if you're looking to see some more gameplay, I think they did a good job of just showing some stuff off. I don't think there was anything spoiler related in there, so if you just want to kind of go see how the game's looking and get a little bit of hype for it, I think this was a pretty cool showcase, and it only being 13 minutes I think was a pretty great runtime. So go check out that Resident Evil 9 Requiem showcase that took place on YouTube last week, and get ready for that game next month. Alright, what else do I want to tell you about? There is a Developer Direct 2026 for Xbox in the upcoming week, so I want to put that on your radar, that's going to be taking place, and I'll definitely be recapping that and all the cool things or cool information or interesting bits from that next week on the show. So the Developer Direct 2026 taking place on January 22nd at 10 a.m. This will kick off 2026 with a look at incredible games like Fable, Forza Horizon 6, which I mentioned already. And I think the release date for this leaked. This is all just rumor mill, so take this with a grain of salt, May 19th. And I did not hear anything about a PlayStation release. So I'm interested to see when Forza Horizon 6 is going to release, and I want to know how soon the PlayStation version is going to get released, because I am very interested in that. But this developer direct will also be talking about Game Freak's new game, The Beast of Reincarnation. Yes, you heard that right. The developers of Pokemon are, tackling something new out here. So we're going to get some more information about that in the upcoming week for the developer direct for Xbox. So come back next week and I will tell you everything you need to know about that one. All right, so what else has been going on around the video game world? This one is something that I talked about in the first section as well. This is a game I've been playing. Actually played a good bit of it this morning, and that's Animal Crossing New Horizons. Officially has a Switch 2 edition available right now. So there's two things to know here with Animal Crossing New Horizons. If you own this game, there's a free update available right now, version 3.0. This was always slated to come out on the same day as the Switch 2 version. It actually dropped a day early, which was nice. I guess giving everybody a little bit of something to be excited about early. So if you have Animal Crossing already, there's a free update out there available now called version 3.0. In this update, it has Cappen's Family Hotel. So there's a new hotel on the dock or block. If you're looking to help out Cappen and his crew, they'll let you design theme rooms for the guest. Decorating a hotel room or helping Tom Nook out with a certain DIY request will also give you hotel tickets that can be used in the souvenir shop. Who knows what new stuff you'll find there. So the free update also has some things making life more convenient. You can upgrade storage 2 more times. And I think the one main thing that I've been noticing is you can craft from anywhere on the island, and you can tap into your storage without having to have those items on your person. So a pretty huge difference. And then also when you craft now, you can choose quantity before you craft. So you don't have to craft every single item. You can say, hey, I want 8 of these things, and it'll do it in one fell swoop. So pretty convenient there, and just very, very nice for someone who's played this game a lot. Some nice touches that are going to help out old players and new players alike. And the new free update also offers Slumber Islands. With Nintendo Switch Online, you can create up to 3 Slumber Islands separate from their main island. On these dreamy islands, you can let your imagination run free, terraform, build, and decorate with items you've previously obtained. And then they also have new collaborations such as Lego items, retro Nintendo knickknacks, and stuff that's obtained by scanning select amiibo accessories. So if you already own the game, that update is available right now. We'll be adding some free content into your game. I think the Family Hotel, I think the deciding line on when this becomes available is you have to have a 5-star island, but don't quote me on that. So that one does seem a little more late game. But there is also a Switch 2 edition available for this game right now. So if you already own the game, you can pay $4.99 to upgrade your game to get the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. Or if you've never purchased this game before, you can buy the outright Nintendo Switch 2 edition, which is $64.99 US. So kind of a funny little in between there, but hey, we'll take any increase, not up to 70 or whatever it may be, we can get. So the Switch 2 edition offers enhanced resolution mouse control support for faster and easier decorating, a megaphone for calling your animal residents that uses a system microphone, and more. If you and your friends all have Nintendo Switch 2 edition, you can share your island in 12-player sessions online, so that's more than before. And with camera play and game chat support, you can see and hear the reactions in real time. So a lot of new stuff going on here with Animal Crossing New Horizons. This is a game that I played 300 or so hours of this when it released. My old island is lost to an old Switch. That was a little bit of a deliberate choice. Maybe I should have saved it, with hindsight. But either way, I restarted this game about a month ago in preparation for this. So I have a pretty bare bones island going right now, and it's getting less and less bare bones by the day, though. I almost have Isabelle on my island, which I am excited for. That's my favorite character here in the Animal Crossing universe. And also, I was thinking I can see KK. I missed KK Slider last night, actually, which is very disappointing. I meant to go check on him. But I've been back playing this game, and it's been fun starting from scratch. And I'm trying to do things a little bit differently this time. I'm trying to make it a little more natural of just how I place things. I'm not going to try to be so meticulous about building things and making everything look good and perfect. I'm just going to try to get some cool characters on my island, build some money up, try to buy some cool things, and just kind of use it as it's definitely a relaxing game, but I don't really have any specific plans and I'm going to try not to over curate, I guess is kind of what I'm saying for this first time, but I do want to eventually get back to a 5-star island, I guess, if I keep playing, but that is a long ways away. So I'm just getting back into the groove over here on Animal Crossing myself, and I will keep you updated in the first section of the show, that, going forward about any of my Animal Crossing exploits. But I do think the game looks a little bit better. It was a little bit shocking first seeing this game. I think it's just because of the frame rate change, and now I haven't even thought about it since then. But immediately looking at this game, I guess after you look at something for so long and it changes even in the slightest, or maybe a little bit over slight, and just is you're like, what am I even looking at here? This looks wild. But I don't think the Switch 2 has anything too drastically different. So don't expect realism in the graphics. This game already has a cool art style, but it just looks a little more crisp and nice, and just you're going to be going around doing some tasking in this game. The music's going to kick in. It's just very, very enjoyable, and there's a lot to be done, and it gives you a lot of ability to be creative, and it's just a really, really fun game. So I've been having fun playing this again, and if you have never played this game, I highly recommend it. It's on my top 10 favorite games of all time, and maybe if it has like a second resurgence here for me, it could really, really kind of go up those rankings. We'll see. I ranked my top 10 games of all time last year for the first time during the Dep Lewis Show Awards. I'm going to do that yearly, so just something fun going forward. But Animal Crossing New Horizons Switch 2 Edition is available now, and the free update is available now as well. So go play some Animal Crossing New Horizons. What else happened in the last couple weeks I want to tell you about? A new game has been added to Nintendo Classics for GameCube, and that is Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. So pretty exciting there. This is a game that I think easily goes for $180, maybe up to $200. That could be a little bit of an over-exaggeration, but this is a very expensive game if you're looking to go buy this game now on the GameCube and get a physical copy. So always nice to have the option here. And I think Fire Emblem, I think there's I have some complaints, and I think there's some valid complaints about the emulation on Nintendo Switch online. It's not exactly as good as playing the original hardware, but that is a big barrier of entry, I guess, if you don't have the hardware or the cartridge or all those kind of things. But this is a quicker way to play. But I don't think these games, or I know these games don't run as good as their other counterparts. But is the difference negligible? Possibly. But I think this is a good game here this is basically I don't want to say like a menu select game, but it kind of is. It's a strategy game completely, and it doesn't really require any fast inputs of any kind. So I think this could be a really good one to play on Nintendo's Classics, especially avoiding the price tag of having to pay for the physical version. And Fire Emblem Path of Radiance is this installment of the classic strategy role-playing series was released originally in 2005. It has fully voiced cutscenes and 3D maps accompany the return of the brutal battle system, where your units are gone for good if they fall in a fight. On the continent of Teleus, two races, the human, I think it's Bjork, and the half-human Laguz, Laguz, I don't know, I could be pronouncing probably both of those wrong, have built a history of strife, mistrust, and compromise. Now sinister forces emerge from the shadows to pit the two groups against each other. Follow the protagonist, Ike, and a colorful cast of characters as this grand drama unfolds around them. Dark days are rising. So Fire Emblem, I really love Three Houses as a game, so I definitely should play some more Fire Emblem as time goes on. I've played some of Awakening, I've played some of Engage, and I think those have been the only other ones I've tried. So I definitely want to play some more Fire Emblem during my life. And if you want to play some Path of Radiance on Nintendo Switch 2 on Nintendo Classics, you are available to do so right now. All right. What else do I want to tell you about? There are a couple games in the upcoming week I want to put on your radar. This first one is actually a game I have completed on PlayStation, but this game is coming to Switch 2. That is Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, and I really, really enjoyed this game. And this is the first Final Fantasy game I've ever completed, and you can play it on Switch 2 on January 22nd. So that's just in 4 days. You're listening in real time for Switch 2 and the Xbox Series X and S. So that's the other thing. It's coming to Xbox. This game's going to be $39.99 US, which is a wonderful price. I think that's an extremely high value because this game is very, very fun. It's not a, there's plenty of hours to play in this game, and you get all the DLC with the Intergrade. So this retells the original story up to the escape from Midgar with breathtaking visuals, fast-paced gameplay, and additional story elements. It includes the Final Fantasy VII R episode Intermission, a side story starring Yuffie Kiaragi that offers a fresh perspective running in parallel to Cloud's journey. And Yuffie is someone I've run into in Rebirth, and she's an extremely cool character, so I do have a little bit of FOMO missing her in the first game. And I hear this is another good Switch port as well, so this is one I could be interested in picking up. This one's a game key card, so it dampens the physical purchase a little bit, but this is something I could actually see myself replaying this game. And if it runs good on the Switch 2, I think that's pretty interesting and exciting, and I think they're going to end up bringing the whole trilogy here is their hope. And the Switch in general is a great place to play all the old Final Fantasy games, and something that I could just see myself doing. So Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is coming out for Switch 2 and Xbox in the upcoming week. All right, something else coming out for Switch 2 in the upcoming week is Dynasty Warriors Origins. So this releases on the same day, January 22nd for Switch 2. It's $59.99 US. And the back of the box talk on this one, it's the most exhilarating action in the series history. Tension-filled battlefields where you clash against massive armies stretching as far as the eye can see. How will you handle the onslaught of enemies? Your military prowess will serve you well as you fight in tandem with your allies in tactical battles unique to the Dynasty Warriors franchise. This game originally released in January 2025, so just about a year ago, for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and Microsoft Windows. It's developed by Koei Tecmo Games and Omega Force. I think a good person to follow if you like Dynasty Warriors would be Kayla, which is Dan Reichert's sister, or Team Kayla on Twitch. Go follow her. She plays a lot of the Dynasty Warriors games, and I think that's one of her favorite franchises of all time. It's nothing that I don't know if I've ever played a Dynasty Warriors game really, besides for maybe 5 or 10 minutes or something. But I think it's pretty cool. These third-party games are getting released on Switch 2, so I definitely wanted to put that on your radar. So Dynasty Warriors Origins releasing on Switch 2 on January 22nd. All right. This bit of news here is a Nintendo news for the Switch 2. We're getting some new Joy-Con colors, some Joy-Con 2 controllers. We are getting some new colors, light purple left and light green right. So you will be able now to have a Switch 2 that looks a little bit unique, but only a couple colors here presented. And the colors aren't even too, apparent on the Joy-Cons. It's just a little bit around the joystick, and you can kind of see them when they're detached. But either way, I think it's nice to get some more colors. This is something that I'm going to want in the future. I liked having my Switch 1 combination try to be a little bit different, and hopefully down the line we're going to get some more colors here. But these Joy-Con 2 controllers are very expensive. It's $99.99 US for the pair. That's the same price as the original blue and red. But the news here is, you can buy blue or red now, and you can buy purple or green. These will release on February 12th, 2026, so just a couple weeks away. And I do believe there's some new PlayStation 5 DualSense colorways available, but there's already a ton of those available. But nice to have the options. But I think the more interesting news here is that we're finally getting a little bit, an updated colorway here for the Joy-Con 2 controllers for Switch 2. All right, the last two bits of news here are Switch 2 related as well. And the first one is Mario Tennis Fever is going to release on February 12th, 2026. So just a little bit of a reminder there. Nintendo Switch 2 only, $69.99 US. Join Mario and friends for over-the-top tennis mayhem. Use top spins, slices, lobs, and other familiar shots, along with fancy footwork and new defensive maneuvers to outpace your opponents on the court. Keep a rally going, build up your fever gauge, and unleash powerful fever shots that can be augmented with special effects by equipping fever rackets. So this is something I could definitely see myself playing. I've been seeing, I think maybe they released a trailer in the last few weeks or so. This game just looks really, really fun. I think the online play here is a little bit tempting. As someone who's been into Nintendo, like the only online games I've been playing have been Nintendo ones, and I think maybe playing some tennis online, it seems like it could be fun. So this is one that's definitely kind of high on my radar, maybe not a day one purchase, but something I'm interested in. I just wanted to make sure it was on your radar here as well. So Mario Tennis Fever is coming out on Switch 2 February 12th, 2026. I'll probably talk about that a little bit more as it gets closer to release as well, but just wanted to mention that. And the last bit of news is a physical release that's good news. This one's coming out for the Switch 2. That's Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. That game's already available in Switch 2 format digitally, that one came pretty recently to Switch 2. It was already on Switch 1. The Switch 2 version came pretty recently, but now we're actually going to get a physical version of this game from Sega, where the full base game is going to be on the cartridge. So not going to be a game key card, and I think I don't know if it's a complete deciding factor. If it's a game key card, I'm not going to buy it, but if it's on the cart, that's definitely a bigger incentive to me to want to buy the game and have a physical version of it. And Sonic Racing Crossworlds is a really, really fun game. I think it was it was definitely one of my favorite games of last year. It was a really great game for kart racers. I think it stands out enough from Mario Kart World, and I think it's really fun. They're adding more characters and courses to it over time. I'm still going to be playing more of this game over time, and I'm interested to know how this runs on the Switch 2. I played the demo on Switch 1. I saw the vision for it being like fun, but it just didn't look that great. Maybe a little bit off on the frames or something. I go and play it on PlayStation 5. It looks amazing and have a wonderful time with it. But if I could have some, kind of comparable time on the Switch 2, I think that would be really, really nice as well. So just want to put that on your radar. Sonic Racing Crossworlds is getting a physical edition on March 26, 2026. The price is expected to be $69.99 US dollars. Like that's what the digital copy is available right now, so that's where I got that expectation from. And you can race across the land, the sea, the air, and the space. Warp through travel rings into new dimensions where something new awaits around every twist and turn. And Sonic Racing Crossworlds are a really, really fun video game. And the game that's been going on sale, I think I've seen it for like $44 possibly for the digital deluxe version, so that's a pretty good deal. And there might even be a sale just more on standard version, but I think this is a really, really great video game, so I just want to make sure you know that. All right, so that's everything I have for you for the midsection of the show this week. We talked about the Resident Evil 9 Requiem showcase that took place. We talked about the Developer Direct 2026 for Xbox that's taking place in the upcoming week. So please check back next week and I'll tell you about what happened there. We talked about the Animal Crossing New Horizons Switch 2 edition available now, and also the free update. We talked about Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, Dynasty Warriors Origins, the new Joy-Con 2 controllers, the light purple left and light green right that are coming out. We talked about Mario Tennis Fever and Sonic Racing Crossworlds. So that's everything I have for you for the midsection of the show this week, and that's all the video game talk I have for you. But there is one final section of the show to go. That's the Miscellaneous Talk section, where I can talk about anything I want to outside the video game world. And I want to get into the worldwide world of sports and tell you about how much fun it was to go to that Carolina Panthers playoff game, even though the result may not have been what I wanted. It was not what I wanted, because I think we already said that, but I definitely want to tell you about that in the final section, so come back right after this. Welcome back to the final section of Dep Lewis Show, episode 163. This is Miscellaneous Talk section, where I can talk about anything I want to outside the video game world. So I want to catch you up with what's going on with all my favorite teams. And the first one I've already mentioned, the Carolina Panthers. Their season came to an end last weekend, but it was an amazing spectacle. They had a home playoff game in Charlotte and versus the Rams. And Matt Stafford really came down at the end and showed why he is in MVP contention. But it was an amazing game, and definitely the coolest Panthers game I've ever been to. It was incredibly sold out, and like I said, I had some friends come to town, friends of the show, and friends of real life. Stoop Woot and Merck came to town, and Stoop Woot bought the tickets. And Stoop Woot's been my friend since I was a little kid. I've known Merck since I'm a little kid too, and Stoop Woot's he's an awesome guy, and he's a troll, but he's also like a troll in the opposite way as well. So it was one of those things we decided, I think the cheapest kind of tickets were around the $200 range. We were going to hey, let's just go get in the building, and that sounds good. So that's what we agreed upon. And as we get to the game, Stoop Woot had bought tickets in the damn third row for this game. So we were sitting third row watching the playoff game. Cam Newton showed up. He was at the beginning of the game banging the drum. So he comes out. One of the coolest sports moments I've ever seen, especially one of the coolest moments I've ever seen in person. Being a Cam Newton fan, they had Jake Delhomme in the building, Steve Smith, Musi Muhammad, other Panthers greats out there representing, and it was just extremely cool. The game came down to the final 2 minutes. The Panthers kind of, everyone's big complaint at the end was the weak defense at the end, playing prevent defense. The Panthers they had, I think it was a 4-point lead, so a field goal is no good. The Rams had to go for the touchdown, and the Rams basically walked down the field and got it. It was pretty ice cold. They were waving goodbye to the fans as walking off the field. It was pretty ice cold, and it was just extremely fun. And I really, really can't believe I was at that game, and especially sitting so close, getting to see the action up close and personal. It was just really, really amazing, and just had so much fun. And shout out to the Panthers. Even in the loss, they lost 31-34, season over, but just really, really amazing. So catching you up on 2 weeks of this show, the Panthers lost to the Bucks on the final game of the season. It was on Saturday, so I think I'd record the podcast day after that. And then the thing was the Falcons had to beat the Saints for the Panthers to get into the playoffs, and that happened later that Sunday. And it put the Panthers as the division winners in the playoffs in the wild card round there, and just couldn't make it out of there. But the Panthers finished the season 8-9, got a playoff game. Played the Rams down to crunch time, and it was just amazing. And Cam Newton was in the building, and it was so damn cool. Bryce was 21 for 40 for 264 yards, a touchdown, 1 interception, 2 sacks for 14 yards, and a rushing touchdown. Chuba had 13 carries, 46 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Rico, 5 carries for 9 yards. Coker, 9 catches, 134 yards, 1 touchdown, long of 52, which was extremely electric. He had 12 targets, and he was playing like a dog out there. T-Mac, 5 catches for 81 yards. Hit the Cam Newton dab out there. Just everything going on was just so much fun. Roseboom had 9 tackles, 5 solo. Mike Jack had interception. Ryan Fitzgerald, kicker, who's been really, really balling this year. 1-1 on the field goals, 4 extra points. And, next week for the Panthers, they're in Cancun. It's the offseason. But congratulations to the Panthers on a wonderful season. I think that was some great progress, some great building blocks. And I think the expectations should be pretty similar for next year. And that's my hope. And what else do I want to say about the Panthers? I think it was just cool to see Cam Newton. I think that was really one of the main things, and cool to see that place so packed out. It was just so much fun. The weather was extremely nice. Out there just in a jersey, it was supposed to rain. That was the whole big thing. It was going to not rain out the game, but I'd bought ponchos before. But the weather was so nice. It was just so mild, and it wasn't freezing like now. It's been 20 degrees where I live. It's been really, really cold. So perfect kind of football weather and just extremely fun. So go Panthers is the main thing I want to say there. All right, so catching you up on some other stuff that's happened in the past 2 weeks. Let's go over the NBA. There's been also some pretty crazy NBA news that has been sitting. I've been excited to report the Panthers, like the fun I had at the Panthers game, but there's been some NBA news that's pretty crazy. So we'll get to that in half a second. But I'm a halfway fan of the Hornets since I'm a North Carolina resident. And since I've talked to you, 2 weeks to catch you up on. So the prior Monday at the OKC, Hornets won 124-97. Wednesday versus Toronto, Hornets lost 96-97. Thursday versus Pacers, Hornets lost 112-114. Saturday at Utah, Hornets won 150-95. So what a blowout! So Hornets actually getting a couple wins in there in the prior week, and in the past week, Monday at Clippers, Hornets lost 109-117. Thursday at the Lakers, Hornets won 135-117, and LaMelo was hitting threes like crazy in that game. Saturday last night at Golden State, the Hornets lost 116-136, and then the Hornets actually play today at Denver at 8 p.m., so I'll tell you about what happens in that one next week. And the next week for the Hornets, they have Cleveland, Orlando, and Washington. All right, so the Atlanta Hawks, which are my favorite team, and in the last 2 weeks since I've talked to you, so Monday at Toronto, the Hawks lost 100-118, and then Wednesday versus New Orleans, the Hawks won 117-100. But also, I don't know if I guess it was after this game, before this game, same day, the Hawks decided to officially end the Trae Young era and traded him to the Wizards for CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert. So pretty much we do not want to pay Trae Young his salary anymore. We do not want to pay him an extension, and we're going to send him to whoever. And it seems like Trae was somewhat excited to go to the Wizards, but I mean, in his situation, you would be excited to go to somewhere they wanted you, and we're going to pay you a big bag of money most likely. So this one is definitely a heartbreaking move for me as a Hawks fan. I think Trae Young is my favorite player on the Hawks. I really kind of started liking the Hawks back in like the Josh Smith era, Joe Johnson era, back during those times where they had those runs. The Hawks were the first NBA team I ever saw in person. I was a Tracy McGrady fan, and we went and saw the Orlando Magic play in Atlanta, and then slowly, I guess after Tracy McGrady leaves, goes to Houston, I was I'm still a T-Mac fan to this day, but that's just kind of how my sports allegiance developed for the NBA. Not really like growing up. I guess the Hornets and the Hawks are the two closest teams to me from growing up in South Carolina. But Hawks have been rolling with them for a while, and this one really, really hurts. Trae Young, brought some of the best moments to the franchise. And small point guard, doing it in a fun way, shooting threes, commanded the team, being a good person for Atlanta, just being a great superstar fit for the team. And it's extremely sad to see him gone. It's definitely put a bad taste in my mouth for the Hawks for a while. I haven't really been watching or keeping up too much. I was, in the move of like, all right, screw the Hawks. I'm going to be a Hornets fan, but I think some of those sentiments have kind of worn off. But still just kind of, I guess, a little bit heartbroken over it for real. So I'm really going to miss Trae Young as a player on the Hawks. Extremely fun to watch. I think they certainly could have kept him around. I don't know if Trae is going to be the number one best player on your team to carry to a championship, but I am pretty certain he could be on a good team that's competing for a championship. And I think it's a sad piece that they're going to miss. And they already have a deal. Jalen Johnson's already on a pretty favorable deal for the Hawks as their number one option. So why not? Why not keep Trae Young? But that's never going to be an option now anymore. He's on the Wizards. It doesn't even seem like the Wizards are going to play him this year. They're going to kind of, I guess, be very, very cautious on letting Trae heal up while they tank. So just very, very sad state of affairs there. But it seems like next year Trae is going to get to play his style of basketball with some young players and get paid. So, I'm happy for Trae Young. And that is the main thing I'd like to say there as a Hawks fan. I'm happy for Trae Young getting the minutes he wants, getting the money he wants. And, I'm sad as a Hawks fan that it won't be on the Hawks. And, the Hawks are, under notice from me for sure. They've been screwing up for a long time on their roster decisions, who they bring in, what the mix of players is, their rotations, their coaching choices, their GM choices, everything above. Hawks have been making boneheaded decisions for a long time. It's very, very hard to follow that as a fan. And, trading beloved players is never going to help. So, bad on you, Atlanta Hawks. Boo, boo, boo. Send the boo birds out there. But, I guess you're going to still have my support. But it might not just be as joyful or cheerful. And I think the Hawks need to get their shit in order is what I would say to the Atlanta Hawks. All right. So that is So what else? So, yeah, the Hawks, they traded Trae Young. So catching up on the games, this is 2 weeks ago. Friday at Denver, the Hawks won 110-87. Sunday at Golden State, the Hawks won 124-111, so getting a couple wins. And then in the most current week, Tuesday at the Lakers, the Hawks lost 116-141. Thursday at Portland, Hawks lost 101-117. Saturday versus Boston, Hawks lost 106-132. So it's not that easy, is it? Damn Hawks. Next week they're playing the Bucks, Memphis. They're playing Bucks, Grizzlies, and the Suns in the upcoming week. So those are all the NBA updates I have for you. My favorite team in the universe, the Atlanta Braves, are in the offseason. The 2026 season begins for them on March 27, 2026 versus the Royals. But who is counting on that? It's only about just a couple months away, and I am super happy about that because I cannot wait for the baseball to begin. The Braves, since I've last talked to you, have signed reliever Tyler Kinley to a 1-year, $3 million contract. They acquired him last year from the Rockies around midway of the season. So keeping another good option in the bullpen here. 2020, and they also have a 2027 club option for Kinley is $5.5 million with a $1.25 million buyout. So I think very, very good there, strengthening the bullpen. I would still like to see the Braves pay a starter or trade for a starter of some kind or add someone else in the rotation there, but I don't know if they're going to do so at this point. But there's been a lot of MLB news going on in general, so I want to catch you up on a few of those things a lot of these have been taking place in the past week. So just, I guess a lot of this is, the roster's finally getting set here before we have to get into spring training, which will be here before we know it. So some MLB news for you and some pretty good news, or, a lot of news here. I don't know how good because none of this is Atlanta Braves related, but Tariq Skubal, an amazing, wonderful pitcher. I think this one's interesting. Skubal and the Tigers have failed to reach a deal facing arbitration. So Skubal is seeking a record $32 million in salary, and the Tigers have countered with $19 million, causing a $13 million spread if this case goes to a hearing. So I think this is one of the larger spreads we've seen and going to be something very, very interesting from a top-tier pitcher requesting top-tier money, and the Tigers are trying to get a deal. So I don't know how that's going to work and could be a little bit of a slap in the face of Mr. Skubal here, but very, very interesting, and I think a lot of teams out there would be willing to get closer to that $32 million for him. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Tigers and Skubal agree upon here. All right, friend of the show, Sanfi, he's a Cards fan, and his team made a move. Nolan Arenado has been traded to the Diamondbacks, which this move's been a long time coming. Diamondbacks acquired 34-year-old third baseman from the Cardinals for the Arenado, the 8-time All-Star. So the Cards get a right-handed pitching prospect, Jack Martinez, in the deal, and they also sent $31 million to the Diamondbacks to help cover the $42 million remaining on Arenado's contract over the next 2 years. Arenado also waived his no-trade clause for the deal. So back kind of when the Cards got Arenado and Goldschmidt, they had a small window of contending, and then kind of some more injuries and some more down seasons. I've got the Cards more in a rebuild mode here. So I think the talk has been Arenado's been on the block for them for a couple of years now, and not too surprising of a move, but interesting to see him go to the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks have been a little bit up and down. They were trending upwards and then kind of fell off a little bit of a cliff, and having a veteran like Arenado could be good, definitely valuable, and if you're having another team pay for the majority of it, that's nice too. So the Cardinals are in rebuild mode. Ranger Suarez, former Philly, has agreed to the Red Sox on a 5-year, $130 million deal for the left-handed 30-year-old pitcher. So, pretty good on the Red Sox there. He's been with the Phillies since 2021, Mr. Ranger Suarez. So nice to see, nice to, I guess, see somebody out and leave the Phillies and get paid elsewhere. That's nice as a Braves fan. The biggest news, I guess, of the past week baseball-wise is Kyle Tucker, the 29-year-old right fielder, signs with the Dodgers, 4 years, $240 million. He's had, started his career with Houston for the majority of it. He spent last year with the Cubs. I think the Cubs tried to re-sign him, but the Dodgers came through with the bag of money like always recently, and just bolster their team that really doesn't need any bolstering. So just another frustrating move as a baseball fan, and especially as a Braves fan, who the Braves do not like to spend money even anywhere in the stratosphere of teams like the Dodgers, and that is becoming more and more of a problem competitive-wise for the Braves. So we're going to see how that's going to go. But, Kyle Tucker gets a giant bag of money, going to play on a great team and compete for a championship this year, and most likely win one. And then some last bit of baseball news. Bo Bichette signs with the Mets for 3 years, $126 million for the 27-year-old infielder. He spent his whole career with the Blue Jays prior, and I am sorry that he has to go to the Mets, but at least he's getting paid. But I can never, can't congratulate people going to the Mets too fully, because I feel bad for him going to those stinking Mets. But Bo Bichette is a Met, getting paid some very nice money though, so good for Bo. All right, so that's all the sports news I have for you this week. We talked about the Carolina Panthers, so the offseason for them. We talked about the Hornets, the Hawks, trying to figure out something here in the middle of the season, trading away some of their best players. I guess the Hornets have been actually, having a little more hope going on for sure, and a little bit more of a clear direction, it seems like. So that's nice, at least. We talked about the Braves, and we talked about some MLB news in general. So that's going to wrap up this miscellaneous talk section, and that's going to wrap up the entire show. So I'd like to reiterate some promotional talk from the beginning. Please follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show available anywhere you can find a podcast. Find the best place to subscribe and listen weekly. Places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Amazon Music, and more. YouTube is also a great place to watch me play some games live or check out the videos later. If you'd like to support the show even further than just listening, patreon.com/Dep Lewis Show is available if you'd like to subscribe monthly. Also, Venmo at Dep Lewis Show is available any day, anytime, for any amount if you would like to support the show. And just thank you so much for listening. I am very, very thankful and glad to be back. And I did do a stream yesterday of Animal Crossing New Horizons, so go check that out on my YouTube. You can go watch the video later. I streamed for about an hour, so if you want to see some of the new stuff going on and see what I've been up to in Animal Crossing, please go check me out there on YouTube. And just thank you so much for being a listener. I hope you have a wonderful week out there in the world, whenever and wherever you listen to this. And, what else do I want to say? If things are going good for you, I hope that continues. If things are going poorly, I hope that changes. And just thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you next week. Goodbye.